The news I'm about to share with you is truly unbelievable. And what I'm not going to do is to embellish a single element of this and to let my two co-hosts in on what's going on. I bring them onto the screen on the live stream now. I've got Damian Andrew Dunn.
Hello.
I've got Kristen. What is it again? Elaine?
Oh.
No. Kristen Elaine Elanius.
Elaine Elanius.
Wow.
That's what they. My parents did that to me.
What is it again?
I have like the most common middle name in the world. I don't know
Lee?
how.
No.
No.
Marie?
Yes.
Okay. Kristen Marie Elanius. Okay. Do you want the last page first or do you want the story drawn out? I'll tell the whole story either way, but there's a very important thing that happened last weekend that you all are not going to believe.
I want the full build.
I want to know the end.
No.
All right. First person in the live stream to comment, full build up or last page. Full build up or last page. Those are your choices. First person who says it.
Don't let me down, Jameson.
Come on, Rick.
Caitlin's wishing people happy Friday. What wasted letters. Okay, come on. Big Rick, somebody.
The end of the story.
Full build up or last page. That's how you're getting the story. Full build up. Jameson, all-time greatest listener for a reason.
Not getting my vote this year.
All right, so last Friday night, I say to Mrs. Planner, what do we got tonight? Because that's how I roll. I don't know. When the work week's over, then I turn into like, oh, I have other things happening. And they're two teenagers and a beloved spouse. And so I said, okay, what are we doing? She said, we have a graduation party. It's like, great. My favorite thing to do, small talk with people I don't know. So let's go. On a Friday, nonetheless, after a work week. So we go. Turns out, amazing party. Amazing party.
Great party.
Amazing party. My sister and brother-in-law are there. Like randomly, right? Which is nice. I know the dad of the graduate who is a big bourbon guy and actually showed me his bourbon collection for the first time, which is as an aside, and I don't want to say too much, but my guess it was a $50,000 bourbon collection.
Oh my.
Yeah, not the story, oddly. So as we arrive at this party, which is a quarter mile from my home, it is pouring. Dare I say dogs and dogs, because no one likes cats. It is pouring, other than Blake, our finance guy, which has me questioning him. It's pouring. And so I escort my family, one person at a time, other than Ted, with an umbrella up to the front door and set our umbrella down, enjoy the party. They have a tent out back, so the rain is just coming around the tent. It's very caramel, right? Get done with the party. I'm logging my Weight Watcher points at the party. By the way, down 12 pounds in 19 days. What? That also not the story.
I hate this story.
It's a great story. No, it gets amazing. Leave the party. It stopped raining. So it's like that. It was like a massive storm. So it stopped raining. Massive lightning, whatever. Drive home, quarter mile. Pull in the driveway. Hit the garage door opener. Nothing.
Again.
The lightning knocked out the GFCI outlet again. And so I turned to my beloved and I said, good thing. I said, can you believe this? Good thing you put a key outside. She didn't have her purse. And she said, no, good thing you put a key outside. And I said, no, stop. I was like, let's go. Because we got to take our daughter somewhere that night. And she was like, no, seriously, did you put it out? And I was like, no, because you put it out. We're locked out. Locked out again. Again. And it gets better because I'm like, I want to be somewhat present at this party. So although I wasn't logging Weight Watcher points on my phone at the party, I'm mentally logging them because I've eaten enough grilled chicken to know there's 0 points. And so I leave my phone inside my home because we're a quarter mile down the road. Mrs. Planner leaves her phone inside the home. Go to a quarter mile. Theodore leaves phone inside the home.
First of all, that's amazing. Yeah, three out of 4 people in your family left phones at home and didn't have them. That's
Fortunately, I have a 15-year-old daughter
She didn't leave her phone
who was
behind.
told to leave her phone at home, but doesn't listen to a word I say. She had it with her. So I call a locksmith. Did I say locksmith? Did I say that wrong? I feel like I said it with a lisp. It felt like a lispy when I said it,
Sorry.
like locksmith.
We're all hoping that somebody makes a reappearance here.
And so I call. You don't even, when you call a locksmith, you don't actually know who you're calling. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. You don't know what company you're calling. You kind of know. They get routed. And so they're like, we'll have someone call you in just a moment. I'm sitting. Now I have my daughter's phone. No one's calling. No one's calling. No one's calling. No one's calling. And then my daughter goes, oh, it's on Do Not Disturb, because she ignores my calls. So we turn it back, and there's like 6 voicemails from this guy. And he's like,
no.
this is the locksmith. Wait. He goes, give me a call back, boss. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, let's go. I called that guy back, and he's like, hey, boss, 10 to 15 minutes, I will be there, boss. I was like, I mean, called boss. A different guy, by the way. Different guy.
Okay.
Gets here, gets to our house. He pulls up on the curb, and I said, look, this has happened to us before. We're going to go the side entrance. We're not going to go to the front because it's not a standard schleg. And he sort of looked at me. He was like, what? And I was like, just trust me on this one, boss. Not a standard schleg. And so he goes to his trunk. He's on a date with his lady.
Oh.
And he sits there, and he's like, okay. I was like, it's a modern schleg. He's like, okay. And he grabs the tools, and he goes in, and he starts trying to pick it.
Front door after you told him not to?
No. Side door.
Oh, okay.
It is the standard schleg. Front door, as you know, is not the standard schleg. Can't pick the modern schleg. And I was like, all right, well, our alternative here is we can go try to pick the non-standard schleg. And he was like, not the ordinary schleg. And he's like, okay, let's try it. Can't do it. At this point, it's an hour.
Okay.
It's an hour. And I say, hey, man, just drill the block. Just drill the lock. Not the old schleg, the new schleg, right? So he goes and drills it. We get in. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world did we do this again? Rochelle asked in the comments, what are my thoughts on a keypad lock? Great question. With our luck, a lightning storm would knock out that battery operated lock. So there's a lot of lessons here, folks. Number one, bad communication amongst partners of assuming the other person put a key out is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is we definitely have a GFCI issue that if it pops twice in the lightning storm, those people are coming out this afternoon.
Good call.
And number three, even modern schlegs are tough to pick. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Paint the Platter Show.
What a time.
You guys, when it happened in real time, I wanted to call you, but A, I didn't have my phone. and B, I had to save it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is there a key outside right now?
No.
Pete.
But here...
Like
there will be this weekend. That's what I'm doing.
Why doesn't anybody else, like, if first of all, I have an electronic keypad because 2024, but if I locked myself out of my house, 2 other people have a key to my house. Like, why
you know what? I agree. Mrs. Planner needs to get her life together. Let's call her on the air.
Yeah, let's do that.
So before if you've ever heard anything like neat or clever on the show from me, and you thought, man, that guy really has his life together. We should listen to the things that he says. Maybe reconsider. maybe reconsider. Do you guys want to guess how much that cost? That whole
for an hour worth of locksmith time.
And then he went ahead and replaced the cylinder that he drilled.
It was a weekend, like a night or weekend.
It's Friday night. He was on a date.
$250.
175.
165.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a lot of Weight Watcher points. All right, let's start the show. What are our segments again? We got a show here. What's that? What are we doing?
Damien.
My question off the top.
Okay, Dame's question. Then we've got the
brain trust.
Okay, brain trust question. And then the third one was something that you had, Kristen.
Passive income.
Okay. Slow news week this week, right?
Yeah, not a ton.
We're not doing it?
Really not. No, there's really nothing out there to talk about.
You don't want to do it?
No.
It's your favorite topic.
I don't have the energy.
Okay, your loss.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's get going, because if we didn't get going, it would feel somehow criminal. All right, in 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com, and we will demystify your financial life. Think of us as financial locksmiths. Joining me, as always, is Kristen Elanius and Damian Dunn. Hello.
Hello.
Good day.
Damon, it is so good to see you, primarily because it means A, my vision's still working, and B, you look like me, and so you're pretty handsome.
Hey, thank you. But right back at you.
How are you doing, youngster?
He wasn't talking to you.
No, I was talking to you.
I know.
Good.
Okay, great. Dame, I am so excited about what's happening in your house right now, and it's a means to celebrate a massive moment in the life of one of your people. We're dedicating an entire segment to. I am thrilled. Not exactly Uncle Pete is very proud of what's happening in your house right now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It is a momentous summer for our household. The oldest Aquadun is getting their first real job.
Yeah.
That means paychecks. That means taxes. I mean, there are all sorts of lessons that are about to occur in this young woman's life. And I fully anticipate on being able to mold her brain into despising the federal government just as much as I do.
Wait, I didn't know that was what this segment was.
Sorry. No. Anyway, my question coming along.
I love it.
Wait, I didn't realize this is how we're shaping it.
It's too late. We're
here. Now we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. So anyway.
It's how you respond, right?
Yes. So along with paychecks and real jobs, comes the, I would call it an obligation on my part, being who I am and what I do, to make sure that she understands the value of investing regularly, which should come as no surprise to anybody listening at this point. But my question is, how best to do that? We're going to choose a Roth IRA for her to get started. That just makes sense. But my question is, if I want her to understand and see the benefits, am I better off to use, and I'm just going to say Vanguard, I really don't care what organization it would be with, and pick a very small portfolio by hand so she can learn more about cost basis and seeing the ups and downs and performance of different kinds of investments? Or am I better off just starting to really try to ingrain the just contribute and go with a robo advisor like Betterment, where she just keeps making those deposits, just keeps making deposits, and watch that balance grow over time and, of course, fluctuate with the market returns? So this is not only a chance for the oldest Aquadun, Lucy, to start to build assets, but also a great chance for her to learn which route, say you, is the better approach in this instance.
Well, I have just ordered her on Amazon, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Let's do it the way I did it. Uncle Pete was forced to read that book back in 1990.
Yes, they had paper back then, Kristen.
Yeah.
Xerox,
exactly.
Kristen, you wanna Aunt Kristen go first here?
Yeah. So does it have to be one or the other?
Oh,
wouldn't a really great lesson be to do both?
Okay, I would argue, not argue. The income is probably not substantial enough to activate the minimums, is my guess.
Oh, well, that's fair. And yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe.
Not with Betterment, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Betterment has pretty darn low.
I think really low.
And in fact, I don't even think they take fees out for the first certain amount of dollars that you put in. But there may be some hurdles to cross with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Other Vanguard and whatnot.
Well, age requirements at Betterment says you have to be at least 18 years old. So you doing an UTMA or UGMA, or what are you doing?
It'd be a custodial Roth account.
Okay.
I'm assuming they allow those.
You can do a custodial Roth account?
Uh-huh.
Boy, that's good to know. Learn on a radio show in front of everyone. Okay, so Kristen, go ahead.
Okay, so my thought is maybe both, because I love the idea of like doing the research and like having her pick the investments, or maybe okay, I take it back. Rewind. I pick the Vanguard option or wherever where she gets to pick and learn about cost basis, etc. But then you mark an S&P 500 index fund or whatever to show if she would have just set it and forget it, what would this look like? You can open I think, what's the company I'm thinking of? Market Watch. They let you do those like play portfolios. They used to, I don't know if they still do, but you could open up something to mimic just, hey, if we would have set it and forget it, this is what it would have looked like.
Dame, can I be the wet blanket for a second?
Oh no.
Sure.
Betterment does not support any custodial or minor accounts.
Really?
Why?
So your bowl of Cheerios right there. You know what I just did in it?
Flipped it over.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna have to go
the
Vanguard, the index route, but I can do some mild research here for you there and ruin the rest
I could
of your
potentially do like a target date fund though, which would be kind of similar to the approach that Betterment would take, basically the set it and forget it versus being a little bit more actively involved in the portfolio.
What about because like there's Fidelity Go, I wonder if all of those have age. I'm kind of surprised by that age minimum portion.
It looks like you can do that at Vanguard.
Okay.
So we have our answer. Back when my kids were first like doing lemonade stand money and stuff, I sort of tried to navigate the system myself here, and I set up accounts. There was remember Loyal 3 back in the day? I would do that and sort of like invest in my name, but for them. And it is weird when you're a tedious father like you or me, and you're trying to teach a lesson like this. It's not so easy. It really isn't.
Well, that's encouraging to hear. I mean,
welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah. So I feel like this is a big opportunity, and because his bigger sister is doing it, that means my youngest will want to have his nose all up in this as well, which is great. I've got no problems with that. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way for concerned isn't the right word, but a father who wants to be involved in this portion of their kids' lives and developing good financial habits long term. What's the best way to go about it? And it sounds like it might be the more hands-on approach.
Yeah, Dame, I'm in the same boat this year because my daughter had been working, but because she was a soccer ref, it was all cash, and there literally was no. I mean, it was all cash, and it was amazing, and it all went to Sephora. So this time around, I believe she will be paying taxes potentially. So I think we might do the same thing, like a custodial account at Vanguard. I mean, she could do it at T Rowe or anywhere else.
Yeah, sure. Right.
It's just as long as it's inexpensive and it can help them learn. But yeah, the individual holdings seem so much more interesting to teach a kid about money than an index fund.
What if you do? Let's just say one of our kids doesn't give a rip about that. Do you force them to sit down and learn about that stuff anyway?
Ooh.
Well, I think you got to dangle a different carrot. I think that's the thing. It's like, okay, here are your life goals. Here are your aspirations, lifestyle wise. In order to accomplish that, you're going to have to learn how this works.
You don't want to be dependent on no man. Learn this.
But that's not Makeup by Mario at Sephora. I don't know.
Makeup by Mario.
Does Luigi have a line too?
It's skinnier line. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Dame. So look, with 30 seconds left in this segment, we have ruined your ideas.
Sorry.
No, we validated your ideas because that's the whole point of options, is eliminating ones that don't make sense.
Yeah. I appreciate your help. Thank you for the guidance that you two have provided me.
Are you going to run like a future value calculation for her?
Of course.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Right?
Absolutely.
Oh man, that's fantastic. All right. Coming up after the break, we have a question from a listener, and we're going to do our best to answer the question and probably make fun of things. I'm Pete the Planner. This is how the show works. I couldn't remember what the question was, but that should not surprise either of you.
Not even a little.
Okay. Damn, so encouraged by LJ. Let's go.
She will be all over this. She loves, I mean, she will earn money and somebody will say, "What are you doing with that?" She goes, "I'm putting in my 529." That's her blanket answer for almost everything. It's going to my 529.
She's the best. She's the best. It's in the blood. It's in the lineage. So thank God for Cassie. All right. Mrs. Advice, I should say.
Yeah.
Aren't you Mr. Tax Filing though? really boils down to it.
I'm Mr. Tax Preparer or Mr. Auditor.
Yes.
Ooh, that one strikes fear in the hearts of many people.
Yeah.
Well, prior to the show, we said we would not talk about the big news of the week on the show.
Yeah.
Let me just ask. The final point I made upon saying we wouldn't talk about it, is that worth making on the air, or is that not worth making on the air?
I don't. It's your show. Your name's on it. You do whatever you want.
Let me just say this. He's
gonna say it anyway.
This is my guess. This is my guess, and it's clean. I mean, it's just an idea that occurred to me last night. Let's say former President Trump becomes President Trump once again. Let's just say that that's what happens. And by the way, I think that's what's going to happen. But let's just say that happens. What are the chances that 12 Manhattanites find themselves under IRS audit very, very quickly? What are the chances? Seem pretty high to me.
I don't know. Jurors, maybe. I would certainly say there's going to be a judge and a prosecutor that will certainly come under audit soon.
That hadn't even occurred to me. See, this is why we bring these things up. Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, you may not want to cross state lines.
And their families. I mean, how petty do you want to be about? I mean, how vindictive do you want to be? How you could just absolutely bury them.
I personally don't want to be petty or vindictive, but within this exercise, I believe others might be.
Sure.
All right. That's enough of that. Kristen, I wish you had not brought that up. And we're doing the segment in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, hitting all the hard-hitting issues of the world. Got a question that says, "Hello, Financial Brain Trust." Kristen, isn't it weird that this email that was meant to go to another financial radio show came to us?
Up here. Yeah.
My question is about how to think about large expenditures in retirement. What happens when a large expense comes up, like a new roof, a septic system, or car purchase? Time out.
Granted.
I was tracking and then I got distracted by septic system because I was trying to find a poop joke in my head. I'm just like, that's like where I was. Like I was going, I was like, yeah. How do I? Does this count as part of that year's 4% withdrawal, or do you create some kind of sinking fund for such items ahead of time? If our withdrawal is $125,000 a year, $25,000 roof is a substantial piece of the budget. Wait till hail. Thanks for your guidance and how to wrap our heads around this important piece of the retirement puzzle. Great question.
Timeout.
Oh, wait, the question's over. You don't need a timeout. We're
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Point of information. I don't know. Kristen, can you explain why they might have said a 4% withdrawal in this question?
Yeah, so it's a general rule of thumb is that whatever your account balance is upon retirement, the 4% rule, meaning you can withdraw 4% of your account balances, should be sustainable. Some people might say 4% is a little on the aggressive side, depending on what age you retire and how well you've saved, but somewhere between 3 to 4% is generally used in financial planning.
Thank you.
I've said it on the show before and a lot of times in publications and whatnot. This is why you need a very big emergency fund going into retirement. This person called it a sinking fund to some degree, but let's say in your working years, you needed 3 months to 6 months worth of expenses. I think you've got to have significantly more set aside in an emergency fund when you deactivate your work income. And so that's why I like at least $100,000 in cash. And by cash, I mean deposited, not I can defend my family with Krav Maga cash, like name. What say you use? I'm sorry. I'd late caffeine. late caffeine. Sorry.
I agree. I think having a much more robust pile of cash going into retirement, because I still think you need to have an emergency fund, dedicated emergency fund set aside, because a new roof, new, I don't know, doesn't matter. You know, those are going to happen. I mean, like you said, there's called a sinking fund or whatever. You have to have money set aside to maintain wherever you're living, unless you're renting, which brings up an interesting question. Is it possible that renting may be the more cost-effective approach for living in retirement for some people versus maintaining the house that they've lived in for decades?
Well, see, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's one thing if example number 1 is a roof, but Kristen, if example number 2 is a septic system.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah. You got it. You got it.
You got it.
Oh.
Finally.
Okay. Go ahead. Do what you guys do.
3 minutes.
All right. I'm done what I'm doing. You guys keep going.
So I hear what the two of you are saying is like having more money in cash. What logistically, if we keep running down the path of this emailer, and let's say they have one of these larger expenses earlier in retirement, then how do they go about, and I think I know the answer, but for them, how do they go about replenishing those dollars in that sinking fund or that emergency fund? Do we just have to set up the same system of saving like we were when we were working? Because you can't just keep taking money out of that account.
Yeah, if you think, I always thinking about it, well, resaving unsaved money is a weird thing to me. Like retirement is the act of unsaving, draining.
Valid.
You're resaving unsaved. It's like freezing thawed food. It doesn't go well. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
No.
What about the car thing is interesting because I feel like the car is almost slightly different.
Agreed.
Right? Because it's not, it is you could argue a roof is going to happen. I mean, you have a 30-year retirement. There's not a lot of 30-year roofs. I say that not knowing what the heck I'm talking about. But a car, is this why sometimes you see the olds in an olds? Is this why you see people driving cars that are probably 20 years past their production date?
Well, as long as the car functions and gets them to where they want to go, I don't know too many people in their 70s or 80s who are terribly concerned about driving the latest and greatest because, well, doesn't do much for them. They just want to make sure they can get to their canasta games or whatever.
Canasta games.
That was amazing.
So I do think the more pertinent example here really is home maintenance and home repair, because if unaccounted for, Kristen, what you end up with is if you ever need to sell the home and transition into a different housing situation, you can create a lot of problems with sort of accumulated maintenance issues.
Yeah. 100%. And, to take the emailer's question even a little bit further, getting a little bit more technical, if we're talking about where to withdraw funds from, it's often a Roth is where we look if someone has a larger expense so that it doesn't change their tax reality too much. So it's not just about having like cash available, meaning the money is liquid, but also it could be within a Roth account too.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. And let's extend it beyond the examples they gave about emergency expenses that are tangible and maybe go to they've got adult children or who are in a bind or a grandchild that they want to help out. That's where this gets interesting. And that's where I've seen a lot of retirements ruined is aggressive, but I'll say negatively altered. How about that? Is that the heartstrings start going and it's not, oh, well, we need new windows because our heating costs are too high, but this person's in a jam and we have relatively a large amount of money compared to them. Dame, how do you get your head around that?
Yeah, it's a reality that families face all of the time. And you're exactly right. Emotions get into the equation. And typically when that happens and finances are involved, less than ideal, less than optimal solutions are usually brought to the front.
Can I make a really super distilled point that's oversimplifies the challenges that we all have as parents? Is that this is why it's so important to teach your kids about money in a selfish way, because if for some reason they struggle down the road, you might find yourself trying to solve that problem when you shouldn't. And so you need to pour into them early. Is that gross? It feels gross. Is that gross?
No. And I would even take that a step further, is to say this showcases the importance of actually knowing how much your life costs, even if it's objectively affordable. Because if you're making it month to month, but don't really understand some of the nuances or the realities of some of those expenses, when we get to a retirement position, we say, well, we made 125,000, like that was livable. But what did the variability of that income and those expenses look like? So I would push that further and say that you have to know your own reality for you, but also for kids.
Dame, I've always liked the idea of a person like physically graphing their expensive years on a timeline. Like, you have a little XY axis situation happening there, and you've got your ages along the bottom. You've got your money needed up the page. I could name the axes, but I have to remember them. But like for right now, I think about I'm at the beginning of my expensive years. We've talked about this the last 12 months on the show. But then my hypothesis is that my need for money will decrease as I get a little bit older. I'm curious if that serves someone here by saying, actually, if you've done it right, your need for money should be declining. And if you detect that your need for money, we've blown past the segment.
Yeah.
Coming up after the break, more of me bloviating right here on the Pete the Planner Show. Good Lord.
I was like,
you know what? I'm going to make that segment 3, and it solves the problem. Because in the edit.
Okay.
Done.
Wow. What was that, Kermit? What was that? Dame, can I ask a dumb question that I asked 2 people in this office this morning and neither of them knew, but I did not ask Doug, who would know?
How's it dumb if 2 other people didn't know?
Because they're dumb too.
Oh.
Great. I love you prejudging us. All right, here we go.
But you'll know. You'll know the answer to this.
You'll know.
Doug would have known if I would have asked him, and I know you'll know. Okay. Do you have to do an oil change on a Tesla?
No. You don't need to put gas in it either.
Well, I know that, but I'm just like, there's moving. Things need lubed. Like anything that moves a lot needs lubricant.
There might be some spots that need some
WD-40,
grease, but I would assume with the quality and development of bushings that have been made, they may not need that kind of just replacement on that. So no, you don't need to do any oil changes on a Tesla.
I'm disturbed that the answer to this question involved bushings. Like that's the answer. Like I'm like, well, is this a dumb question? You're like, no, it's a bushings thing.
No, I mean, instead of having grease zerts all over the
what?
Grease zerts.
He's lost me now.
Zerts? What is did you make up that word like a flingo, or is zert a thing?
You know what?
Is a zert a thing?
Would I have made something like that up?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. Spell it.
I'm assuming it's ZERT, but
no. Zerk with a K.
Zerk. Sorry.
Oh, what a dummy. What? What a Zerkhead. Oh man. You dumb Zerk.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. It's Rick. Appreciate you. Knew you'd be there to back me up.
Kristen.
Some of our riding lawnmowers have Zerks. Part of the annual servicing is just we take the grease and just throw it on the Zerk. Insert until it spills out other places. I mean,
you guys live such different lives.
Yeah, I don't know if the people who mow my lawn have Zerks. I'm just kidding. I mow my own grass.
He obviously doesn't service his own lawnmower though.
You have to service a lawnmower?
Oh my.
I really haven't serviced in a very long time.
You're supposed to do that annually.
I mow a postage stamp.
Yeah,
I like
fair.
not a lot of things happening. This is the best. Okay, let's keep going because I have things. Sorry, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, boss hog of liberty. I don't know if he is. I saw him add some posts this weekend, and I thought about. I gotta think about what.
Well, it was race. Last weekend was a race. Of course, he posted. Yeah. That's his weekend.
It was. He's really dead, but he posted something I was going to bring up on the show. It was some guy.
I feel like he hasn't been in the show or like in the comments of our show.
Wait. Oh, Kim Hunt Ladd, 30 plus years at SIA in Lafayette, the Subaru manufacturer there. And that's how she knows Zerks.
You don't know. Maybe she was familiar with Zerks before and just happens to coincide with her job. You don't know that.
I don't know what's better, that this got to Zerks or that Dame called him Zerts and it was Zerks.
I've never spelled it. I've never looked it up. I've never had to buy one. So I think I get a pass on that.
When you take these out of a car, are you deserting? Okay, let's go in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. We are back from a break, well lubed, ready to go. Kristen, there was a topic that you were deeply interested in to cover in these next 9 minutes and 22 seconds. Can you help us understand what those might be?
Yeah, so we actually got a question, and short and sweet, but it stirred up this topic that I feel like we talk about a little bit around here, but we never really devote time to it. So the question is, with interest rates staying high alongside the market, I've been stashing cash. I want to start building wealth through real estate / passive income. What other passive income opportunities might exist? What should I consider while I feel like I should wait on the sidelines?
TikTok.
Oh my.
Are we done? Are we going to break?
No.
Okay.
So I thought we could, one, answer how we feel about passive income as real estate, because we usually just say like, it's not, but we don't talk about it. And then there's a list that was published of ideas for passive income. And I thought that we could turn that into a little game of like passive or side hustle.
Dame, I'm enthralled by this idea, but I also feel like, occasionally we'll get reviews of the show that I'm out of touch with the reality.
Oh, no.
I feel like that could really trigger some people here. So I'm just going to go in, checking my privilege at the door, and doing my best to say, what are we calling it? Second gig or side hustle? What are we calling this?
Passive income or side hustle.
Okay, let's go.
Now, before Kristen gets started, I'm going to color the rest of this segment by reading you the definition that GPT gave me for passive income.
Okay.
Passive income is earnings derived from activities in which the individual is not actively involved. Thanks. It often requires an initial investment of time or money, but then generates income with minimal effort going on. And then it goes on to give some examples, but that's the key part for what we're talking. So upfront effort, and then not much effort, action involvement after that.
I'm so excited for what happens after this moment, because so many times on the socials, you'll see people like brag about their passive income, and they're working like 80 hours a week to make the passive income work. So Kristen, let's shed some light on this topic.
Okay, so the first one, are we all going to say whether we think it's passive or not? How do we want to?
We have to.
It's your game. I mean, you're Bob Barker.
Oh, okay. So investing in high yield savings accounts. Is it passive or not?
Well, is investing passive?
I think it's the mechanism. It's the fact that it's in a high yield.
Yeah, I'll go passive.
Passive.
Yeah. I think it's passive.
Okay.
I think that one's pretty easy. What about let's do the listener's question. Real estate.
Side hustle or main job?
I'm going
not at all passive.
I think it can eventually get to be passive, but the people do it different ways. They're flipping, and that's not passive.
No. I mean, I guess you could potentially hire a company to manage your rentals for you, because I think that's what this person is getting at. Or you could invest in REITs, which would be passive.
Yes. See, that's my thing is I think if you're using REITs, it's passive. I don't know that most people can consider real estate passive income. I just don't I
So,
don't think that works.
Pete, what's a REIT?
Real estate investment trust,
Yep.
where you can invest and all of that sort of stuff is sort of done for you. And I would argue that's passive.
Yes.
Yeah, look, I had a rental and it felt passive until it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I have a friend who is very into real estate as passive income, and he calls me all the time about like, yeah, I had to run out to the Airbnb because the can opener broke, and I'm like, that's not passive at all. I don't think that that works.
It's not, I think it's passive until you post about it on TikTok and then it becomes active. Okay, next one.
Speaking of that, what about multi-level marketing / network marketing?
Didn't you want to go in on this at one point? Is this your attempt to go in on this?
This is not my attempt to go in on this. This is just broad overview. But multi-level marketing, sometimes called network marketing, is often, I shouldn't say then marketing again, but is marketed to those who want to get into it.
It's marketing marketed to the marketers. So the marketing market.
Passive income opportunity.
The definition of a word is how the word is defined.
Okay.
Side hustle, right?
I don't even know that you can call it
with
a
emphasis on hustle.
But yeah, like passive income is not the definition of, if we call it network marketing or multi-level marketing, it's not in any way, shape, or form passive.
You just had to say marketing a few more times.
What Pete, what do you think Christy would try and shift if she was doing an MLM? What would her thing be?
Oh, what would be her product?
Yeah.
I think I'd go like a specific name brand or just like a product or
product. It's not
maybe just a product. So.
Probably not things like candles. I don't see you being like a Scentsy maven.
No.
I would think maybe financial service. There's a new one I saw that is like helping people with financial freedom as the product itself. So that would be Christie's grift.
I think it's diecast collectibles.
Oh, that's a good one.
My.
So again, by Dame's definition, you could put work and an investment in early. I just don't. Maybe that's a different topic for a different day, but I don't see that being passive income.
I don't either.
Okay. What about dividend stocks?
Passive.
I think so. I think it's passive. The reality is, though, if you're someone who is really involved in your portfolio, like you're trying to do with your oldest Aquadun, it depends on how you're actually approaching it, though. Like, because just to say that you invest in high dividend paying stocks doesn't mean that it's passive.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to make any money out of what I'm doing with her.
Right.
Either, so it's a teaching. It's a charitable gift. I'm going to write that time off.
Okay.
You do need to account for all the work it takes to drive those checks to the bank.
That's true. That is true.
That's how I do my banking in person.
In person.
What about, can I throw one out there? Sure. Active or passive? What about you have a skill, a professional skill, and you moonlight and do that professional skill outside of work? Let's say marketing, computer programming, money coaching, anything like that. Do you view that as passive income, or do you view that as a side hustle?
Side hustle.
Side hustle. Active. Yeah.
Yeah, I think side hustle too. I'm just curious because I think some people, I believe people's attention to passive income via sort of it being culturally relevant and exciting and interesting as a way to bridge the gap has people conflating what
sure
things are, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any more, Christy, in the last minute we have here?
Renting out a space you already own or a vehicle you already own.
Wait, so like Airbnb?
Mhm.
Oh,
Or like your car.
Or Turo on for
Mhm.
car stuff.
and the good thing is if you have a Tesla, you don't have to change the oil.
Yeah.
It's got to keep the Zerks going.
There's
Mine.
no Zerks.
There's no Zerks in a Tesla?
I'm gonna Google it, but you keep discussing this because I'm shocked.
Kristen, this is actually maybe the most interesting point in the 20 seconds we have left. Is an Airbnb passive income or a side hustle?
I think it's a side hustle. And I think Turbo or Turo or whatever it's called is too.
I'm leaning, man, I think this was on the fence. It feels like passive income, but you got to have a management company going and clean and turn stuff over. And with that, we had to break. Coming up after the break, we are going to discuss other things on the show, including emergency funds and retirement. I'm Pete the Planner. You see how I did the switch right there? Because it's really Blom. This is the first time we've ever done this whole parlor trick. Dame Zerks?
No, it does have some things that have grease in them, but they don't get grease reapplied to them. If they need to be replaced, they're replaced.
Okay. I have maybe a less dumb question that I'd like an answer to, but I guess you'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, sure.
What's the difference between a motor and an engine?
It's a great question, and I don't know if I can. Because I've used those interchangeably often, and I don't know if motor connotates internal combustion, and I don't know.
Chris, you've got die-cast cars. What's the difference between a motor and an engine?
It's all the same to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Okay. Well, alas, we move on. Okay. Fun little show here.
A motor is a device that converts electrical energy into mechanical energy.
What's an engine?
So a motor by definition is electric.
An engine is a machine designed to convert various forms of energy into mechanical energy.
So why is General Motors a gas-powered company?
I don't know. They
Would it
didn't
be
understand
General
the difference.
Engines? Or GE already took it, so they had to.
General Electric, yeah. So they had to, yeah.
Robert says he's got a name, so he must know what he's talking about. Engine is a motor with an advanced degree.
Okay.
Jokes. Yes. Ice engine, electric motor.
I don't get it.
That's because I just said if one connotated internal combustion versus the other, which is what we just discovered.
Biggest waste of money of the week coming in 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner show is the Tempest by Wayne Enterprises Maverick GT Stormy Night Jet Ski. Dame, are you laughing because you have one?
No, I think it's gorgeous, and 2, Wayne Enterprises is fantastic.
Tempest and Wayne Enterprises. Wayne Enterprise, you know of Wayne Enterprises? Or you just like the name?
Batman.
Yeah, I know that. Do you know of them?
No, I didn't know anybody who had an actual company called Wayne Enterprises.
Well, the last time we did a biggest waste of money of the week that you knew a lot about and reacted to, you had one in your barn.
Not that actual one. It was a very cheap version of it.
Tempest and Wayne Enterprises have collaborated on a jet ski that promises the most luxurious experience on the waves, as long as you don't mind getting wet. Based on Tempest's flagship Maverick GT, the Stormy Night reflects what the dark night might look for in a wave skipper. The 14-foot jet ski features a carbon fiber hull and 350 sea horsepower. I added the sea horsepower. It's horsepower, but I put sea horsepower.
Clever.
Because it's in the ocean.
Doesn't have to be in the ocean.
But seahorse.
Yeah.
Electric drivetrain powered by a 100 kilowatt battery. Electric drivetrain sounds like a motor to me.
Mm-hmm.
That gives the jet ski an 85 I believe it's pronounced MIF, top speed and a range of 75 miles or 6 hours of runtime. The Stormy Night can seat up to 4 people, and there's plenty of room for sidekicks and maybe even a villain or two. Batman-approved tech features include Garmin navigation with iOS and Apple Watch voice commands, allowing you to call the vessel autonomously. The Stormy Night is limited to 27 units worldwide. Kristen, you are a DC Comics fangirl.
That's me.
And you love personal watercraft. Yes.
I actually do. But first of all, if you've ever gone anywhere above 30 miles an hour on a piece of watercraft, no one needs to be going 80 miles an hour. That's horrifying. 2, it costs, there's only 27 of them. It costs $53,000.
That's an interesting guess. Dame, what is your guess? I should have done this entire segment as Batman, but I will do the news as Batman.
You will?
I will. I will react to your news stories.
Oh, okay. Okay.
As Batman.
I think what Kristen said is egregious, but it seems like it's probably even too low for what they're going to ask for this. So I'll say
$53,000. Wait,
I'll say
$53,000.
Hold on, I'm working on it.
$53,000. Okay, Dame, what do you think?
I'll say $75,000.
$75,000. That's not a good Batman.
No.
This isn't a good Batman either. This is more of a Robin. We're on the air right now.
Yeah, they love it.
$250,000.
Whatever.
I don't know what I've got going today.
No Miguel's either.
No. All right, Dame, what's in the news this week?
T-Mobile's buying most of U.S. Cellular for about $4.4 billion. Heavy emphasis on most of, especially if the fun police from the FCC start to sniff around. The company is gobbling up Sprint, or they did gobble up Sprint in 2020 to create the worldwide leader in dropped calls and spotty service. They'll take over most of U.S. Cellular stores and customers, as well as 30% of its wireless spectrum. They plan on leasing the remaining 70%. I don't know if I know anybody that uses T-Mobile.
This is starting to sound like an oligopoly.
Those 3 semesters of econ are paying off here.
It's an oligopoly.
I'm sorry. Dame, I don't know anyone that uses T-Mobile.
Yeah, and it's supposedly better in big cities too. So you'd think that you'd be surrounded by people that use T-Mobile.
I used T-Mobile back. My first cell phone I bought myself in college. You go away to college, you buy yourself a cell phone. You don't really have a plan of how to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then, 30 years later, they have an oligopoly. What else is
Even when billionaires lose, they find ways to stretch their money to infinity and beyond.
Oh boy.
Activist investor Nelson Peltz bought 30 million shares of Disney last year in an attempt to force the company to pivot from its streaming strategy. Peltz lost a bitter proxy battle against Disney's board of directors in April, but he got a great runner-up prize. He sold his entire stake at about $120 per share, netting roughly $1 billion in profit. To help wrap your head around such a big number, that's 690,000 annual passes to Disney World, 9 million single-day tickets, or 11,900,000 dinners at Cinderella's royal table in the Magic Kingdom.
Kristen, have you ever watched a documentary or read about activist investors and like how it all works?
I have not, no.
It's pretty interesting. Dame, have you ever gone down that road?
No.
There's a Carl Icahn documentary. I believe it's on Max. I just want to see
that.
Yeah, I want to see HBO so bad.
Yeah.
The primary reason you need to watch the documentary, other than it's interesting, is what I mentioned the last time I brought this up on the air, is how he shakes a martini. He goes with like 3 shakes and then just pours it, which I just find is like, and it's just like a real like flaccid sort of like it's just like a and then he just pours it. I'm like, that's not cool, Carl. Literally.
Maybe it's how he got to where he is.
Big Rick Swink asked a very important question in the live stream right now. Was my college cell phone a sidekick from T-Mobile? And the answer is no. It was some form of a Nokia, I believe. A Nokia.
Everybody had Nokias, yeah.
Yeah, it's what the people do. Dame, time for some more stories.
Yeah, what's black and white and red all over, Pete? No, it's the news that the pandas are back. Ever since the first pair of giant pandas arrived at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. way back in 1972, they've been a sensation, which is why the departure of the last pair in November caused a lot of pandemonium. Thankfully, the zoo has struck a new deal with the Chinese government that will see 2 adolescent pandas taking up residence in the nation's capital. This seems like a weird story for finance, but here's where the dollars come in. Panda diplomacy comes with a price. The National Zoo is going to pay $1 million a year to the China Wildlife and Conservation Association for the panda privileges, and maintaining the pandas at the zoo costs another blank dollars a year.
Ooh.
Here's the guessing game. How much does it cost to maintain the pandas at the zoo a year? 2
pandas maintain a year.
Maintenance. Oh man, so that's got to be like
Panda maintenance.
Their enclosure, their
I have no idea.
I'm sure it's all of that.
I would guess.
Warranty.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kristen?
Oh, I always have to guess first.
I'll go. I'm going $2 million a year each.
Each?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's considerably less than that. I would say it's $650 each.
$1.8 million a year. $1.8
million.
No.
But I was close. No, I wasn't.
Sure, you missed by 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Look, there's a list of things that make me a not so great human, but I'd like to add one to the list. I don't care about pandas.
About pandas, yeah. Exactly.
I don't care about pandas. Like people are like, oh, we got pandas from China. Come look at the pandas. And I'm like, that sounds like a parking nightmare. I don't want to go. Like if all these people it's simple economics. If a bunch of people want to go look at something, I don't want to look at it because there's a lot of people I got to deal with. So therefore, by definition, not interested in pandas.
Trash pandas are just as cute.
Dude, raccoons are just as great. And it's a gamble because they could be rabid when you pet them and feed them saltines. So let's take a break for the week. Calm down. Next week, special show streaming on Thursday. I think at noon. Are we doing noon?
Yeah, I think so.
Lunchtime with Peter. Let's not go with that. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Send you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the show. Boy, that was enough to get us. Was that on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
You know, you're the one that started it. Oh, that was fine. It's fine.
I don't care about pandas. And it's not that I want the pandas to die. No. I just don't care about the panda. Like there's chimpanzees at the Indianapolis Zoo right now. I care about chimps.
You do?
I mean, not deeply, but I care more about them than the pandas.
That's interesting.
You would sooner pay, if you had to pay to go see one and deal with parking.
That's my thing.
You would go see chimps over pandas?
Oh, absolutely. You know what the top of my pay for parking at a zoo list animal is?
Okay.
Gorilla. Yeah. If you've ever seen a gorilla in real life, it is unbelievable. And I'm not talking at Showbiz or Chuck E. Cheese in the animatronic band. I'm talking a real gorilla. Kristen, you ever seen a gorilla in real life? I can tell you haven't because you don't seem like the sort of person that walks around having seen a gorilla.
No, I wasn't really a big fan of the zoo as a kid. It gave me anxiety.
Animal prison?
Yeah.
Dame, what do you think about gorillas?
I think they're amazing creatures, and you would know if you've seen one.
Great point. Kristen, number one animal on your bucket list to see other than Sasquatch?
I don't know.
How can you not know this? It's like I know my middle name. I know my favorite color. I know my favorite animal.
I told you the zoo gives me anxiety.
All right, Dame.
Probably a great white shark. Not in the water though. Not in the water. I'd love to see
cages.
Like you see on Shark Week how they breach that when they're hitting like a seal or a dummy. I would love to see that. I'd
like to see a narwhal.
Oh, yeah.
Hope you find your dad, buddy.
All right, that's it for the show. Stay getting money.